So on behalf of the Westchester Jewish Community Services and as the co-chair of the Undoing Racism Committee here at WJCS, I'd like to welcome all of you here, braving the weather and coming out this morning to celebrate the annual Martin Luther King celebration. And this is the 8th year that we are celebrating the Martin Luther King Day, and we've actually made this into an annual event as of, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. Is that correct, Brian? So today is this year marks the 43rd anniversary of the death of Martin Luther King. So he's actually been dead longer than he was alive. He died at the age of 39. It has been 25 years since Martin Luther King's birthday, Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, became a national holiday. And if he were alive, he would be 82 years old. Now that's hard for me to conceive of Martin Luther King at 82, because the picture that I think has been indelibly printed in my mind, and probably the minds of most of us, is the young, vibrant minister whose oratorical magic and electrifying rhetoric could cause delicious pandemonium in his audience. King began receiving death threats almost immediately after he became a public figure, but he was on a mission to redeem the soul of democracy, and he exhausted himself, uplifting his country and his people. There's a lot to be learned of King's life, how he lived, what he stood for. What we make of his life and death will determine what we make of his legacy and our future. And now Mark Levine will introduce our speaker for today. Kyra.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us for today's 8th annual WJCS Martin Luther King commemoration. It is my privilege to introduce this morning's featured speaker, Dr. Kyra Gaunt. Before doing so, I'd like to briefly share with you some excerpts of a James Baldwin essay on Martin Luther King. This essay, which he had written on Dr. King in 1961, about 3 years after first having heard Martin Luther King preach to his congregation in Montgomery, Alabama. It is true that it was the congregation that had begun the struggle of which he was now the symbol and the leader. It is true that it had taken all of their insistence to overcome in him a grave reluctance to stand where he now stood. But it is also true, and it does not happen often, that once King had accepted the place they had prepared for him, their struggle became absolutely indistinguishable from his own and took over and controlled his life. He suffered with them, and thus he helped them to suffer. The joy which filled this church, therefore, was the joy achieved by people who have ceased to delude themselves about an intolerable situation, who have found their prayers for a leader miraculously answered, and who now know that they can change their situation if they will. And surely very few people had ever spoken to them as King spoke. King is a great speaker. The secret of his greatness does not lie in his voice or his presence or his manner, though it has something to do with all these, nor does it lie in his verbal range or felicity, which are not striking, nor does he have any capacity for those stunning demagogic flights of the imagination which bring an audience cheering to its feet. Now mind you, this was 2 years before the speech in Washington. The secret lies, I think, in his intimate knowledge of the people he is addressing, be they black or white, and in the forthrightness with which he speaks of those things which hurt and baffle them. He does not offer any easy comfort, and this keeps his hearers absolutely tense. He allows them their self-respect. Indeed, he insists on it, feels. I had the distinct pleasure to first meet Kyra Gaunt a year ago when she presented to a group of approximately 20 people at the monthly potluck gathering of the Anti-Racist Alliance of New York City. Her presentation was riveting and thought-provoking. It is my honor and privilege to introduce today's featured speaker, Dr. Kyra Gaunt.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is a delight to be here and to have been invited by Mark. There are a couple of things that the introductions reminded me I need to say about who I am in the world, or at least who others tell me who I am in the world. And one, everybody says, oh, your voice, oh, I love your voice. So my brand, I have a brand, it's Curiosity, like Kyra of the city, and Curiosity. Curiosity, voicing the unspoken through song, scholarship, and social media. And it's all in service of creating the remarkable oneness of humanity, or spaces or environments in which people experience the remarkable oneness of humanity, the curious connections between us opposable thumbs, especially those of us who are in disagreement, even in mundane situations. We love to dissociate from our parents when we're mad at them. I was mad at my mother after Christmas. I have this T-shirt, and I have this T-shirt that a friend of mine from the Virgin Islands gave me, and it's a heart in red, black, and green, which for a lot of African Americans means black culture. And it says, I love my people. And I love this T-shirt because people come up to me and go, am I your people? And I'm like, yes. And that just gives you a little sense. That's my little introduction of myself.